everyone. Welcome to Radically Loved Radio. I wanted to create a place where people can go to get inspired, get motivated, or find some clarity and get tools to create a radically loved life. I will do my best to provide information on a variety of subjects, including yoga, holistic health, life coaching, spirituality, meditation, and overall mindful living. Each episode will bring you some of the world's best spiritual leaders, entrepreneurs, yoga teachers, coaches, along with some of my closest friends, and we will talk about their life experiences and journeys to create something more out of their lives and how they continue to grow to make that happen. Thanks for listening. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Radically Loved. I am joined by a very special guest today. He is the co-CEO, co-founder of Uprising Food, which you are all familiar with because you've heard me talk about it on the podcast before. And we now have the founder here on the show to tell us even more information about why this is going to be the best staple in your diet for the rest of your life. William Schumacher is on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Rosie. Super excited to talk to you today.
Do you like how I was like your new staple for forever?
Yes, I really appreciate that.
So Uprising Food was founded by you and I think 6 other people. How many people were involved in this?
There's 4 total co-founders.
Okay.
Including me. So
yes.
It's me, my wife, and then another married couple, but they're the baking duo side of the equation.
Yes. The baking connoisseurs of creating this, like, I could have never thought that something this good would be able to ship somewhere. You know, I remember
yes, exactly.
when we had this conversation before. So you guys are familiar with Uprising Food is actually an incredible sponsor of the show. But when I first met William on our sort of like onboarding call, I was fascinated by the information that he had and his sort of why he created this company. And I was just so compelled to have him on the show because there was I'm like a health and wellness person, right? I feel like I'm very mindful about the things that I put into my system and, you know, making sure that everything is gluten-free and making sure that I'm getting the best quality products in. But at the same time, I've gone through the gamut of having packaged foods not really taste awesome.
Yes.
And I think that this is sort of where I was kind of blindsided because when I tried the product, I was shocked at how delicious it was. And also just the whole experience. And I guess you could just tell the audience exactly what I'm talking about because
let's get them salivating. You're doing a pretty darn good job already.
I'm like, send me some more.
Yes. So first off, the big idea behind Uprising and why we even started the company is that we believe the food system is fundamentally broken. And people, and as a society, we are sick at scale. And so the question is, well, why are we so sick at scale? And when you take a step back and look at it through the lens of the products that are available, you say, at least we say that, hey, the major staple foods that are available and that we subsist off of at scale are the major driver. And if not the number one driver, they are near the top because these are the things that people make their lunch out of, make their dinners out of. They bring their family to the table around. They grab when they're on the go. These are the things that were built off of a totally different set of scientific principles and commercial principles where we needed to feed people at scale, right? You know, in the middle 1900s, we needed to figure out how do we just even make enough food and then make it at a price point where just everybody can get to it. And the third leg of the stool, the health side, what is this going to do in my body? What is this going to do in my gut microbiome? That wasn't even a concept at that point, right? Like we were just trying to figure out how to industrialize, scale, and feed people that were starving or were, going off to war in the middle 1900s, and we needed to keep food next to them. So how do we preserve it and box it and get it to them? So, those were fantastic advances at the time. But now when you fast forward that decades later, and we are subsisting off of a similar or the same profile of foods, and now we're able to see, ooh, yikes, those ingredients may not have done what we were hoping they would do, or they're doing things that we had no clue that they were going to do. And so at Uprising, we say, wow, we actually need a revolution. Like we need an uprising in how we think about our scaled food system. What is available to people? Where is it available? What ingredients are even in these things? And how do we get this to everybody? And so then we said, okay, we want to tackle the major staples. We want to tackle bread first and foremost, because bread is the thing that people think about as like, oh, I need to make a health transformation. I want to make a change. There's no freaking way I'm giving up my bread, right? Or the breads that they're consistently working with or are available are not as healthy as they possibly could be. So we said, if we can knock out bread first and foremost, that will gain a ton of trust with folks, because then we can expand to a whole bunch of other things. But we want to do the fundamental thing that has brought our society together for ages and prove to people that we are here for you and we can do a whole lot more, but we've mastered this thing first and foremost. But then, of course, we all know any healthy product and any healthy change, people are not sticking to unless it tastes fantastic. So we say that we do not compromise on health or taste. And what fundamentally sets us apart is you cannot find staple products that are this healthy, that taste this good, and that are this fresh. And that trifecta is what really makes Uprising so magical. So there we go.
Oh my God, that's so good. I'm just like, I just want to know. I think in the beginning, when I first tried the bread, I wanted to know, how did this get shipped? That's like, how are you shipping this? And how is this staying so fresh and so delicious?
Yes.
I'm like, obviously those are trade secrets and I don't expect that you're going to share this with us. But one of the things that actually has been talked about on the show, we've talked about the gut microbiome and sort of the importance of having fiber in our food. And you do a really good job at sort of educating the importance of fiber. Can you speak to that a little bit for the people that maybe, aren't so familiar with it?
Well, all of those questions you just asked are fantastic questions and reasons why Uprising is doing something different. So I would love to give you a little bit on the fresh all the way to your doorstep in California when we're baking in Detroit. Okay. So what we really are at our core is we are basically a modern farm market stand at digital scale, which is incredibly hard to do. But it's incredibly important because the way that food supply chains actually work to deliver these extraordinarily low price points that you see at grocery store shelves is you need to be able to preserve the product for a long amount of time as it goes from wherever it was made to the distributor's warehouse, to the inventory location, to the distribution centers at this retailer and that retailer. And then finally, at some point, this thing makes it to the shelf. And then you might take it from there to your shelf at home. And by the time you add all of that up, there is a long amount of time that this product has taken to get to you. Well, in
Yeah.
order to do that, you need preservatives and you need all sorts of things to happen. And so we wanted to cut that entire thing out and say, we want to be able to ship it straight to your door. So at Uprising, we bake in downtown Detroit. The product comes straight out of the ovens. We freeze it immediately, and then we ship it straight to you. And we have developed a proprietary formula where we can give people longer than normal farm market shelf life, but not obviously not nearly as long as those like dead foods that are going through crazy supply chains, but people can get that farm market quality experience with our bread, but no matter where they live in the country. And so that part's really important to us. And then on the taste side, I'm telling you, we're like a farm market artisan bakery. And that's the like how we think about the taste side. So we modeled our mouth feel and our what we were going for after like real bread feels that and tastes and profiles and bites that people are used to. So our bread is really meant to be a toasting bread. So we want you to slice it, toast it up, and that it is going to give you a nice crispy outer and then a soft chewy inner. That's important because that mimics the famous baguette. And the baguette is what real, bread eaters, they look at that and say, that's the mouthfeel that we want to give to people at the local farm market. Well, we're trying to bring that all the way to your doorstep. And that's the thought process that we went through. We invented the Uprising bread.
Oh, I'm like Mariah from Portland. So we're live right now. Mariah from Portland wants to know what the bread tastes like.
So it's meant to taste like a mild, nutty sourdough. So there's no gluten, there's no traditional bread ingredients, but it has a slight sourdough note to it. And then, like I said, mouthfeel is very important. So this is a dense bread eater's bread. This isn't whipped air that is, light and fluffy and like, okay, how much food is even in this thing? No, this is meant to be strong and do the jobs that bread is meant to do.
Yes.
Because we wanted people to be able to make a sandwich and be able to hold the sandwich all the way to the end. We want people to be able to make French toast on Saturdays and, put that fork through it and get a nice hearty bite. So you got those mild nutty sourdough flavors. Then you've got this dense bread that really crisps nicely and has a soft chewy inner. You bring that all together. This is why it has a shot to be your staple bread forever.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because any other gluten-free breads that I've tried, they fall apart or they have a consistency issue or they taste like cardboard. So it's just kind of a hard thing to the fact that you guys were able to figure this out is completely groundbreaking. Jerry from Twin Falls is asking, what was it like being on Shark Tank?
Oh, Jerry, fantastic question. I mean, there's nothing like 5 million eyeballs staring at you. So, it was opportunity of a lifetime. It was truly a dream come true. And to do it up there with my wife, go hand in hand, take our little baby, the company, in front of the entirety of America. Yes, there's only 5 million people, but it sure felt like all 300 plus million. And so, to have that back and forth with the sharks, people have told me my whole life I should go on Shark Tank. So it was very surreal to then find myself there, with my wife in front of the sharks, pitching, our hearts out, and we're very heart forward people. So, we talked a lot about the mission and why, this is so important to society, and talked about my dad and his health issues. So, even though we didn't get a deal, spoiler alert, it was still the experience of a lifetime, a dream come true. And we got so many new customers out of the whole entire
just
experience.
like the exposure, right? I mean, I would imagine just the exposure was huge.
Yes. So definitely a bummer to not get a deal, but definitely overall an extraordinary experience, and a memory for a lifetime. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's just the beginning, right? I'm really excited
Yes.
for you guys. I mean, that's my sort of like excitement to being associated with Uprising Food, because I'm such a fan, obviously, and just being able to spread the word as much as I can, because it is such an incredible way to for anybody that's health conscious, for anybody that's looking to be healthier, to support a small business, these types of things that for, I don't know, my generation, from our generation is really important, how we're feeding that ecosystem, right? Oh my goodness, we're getting flooded with questions right now. Carol from Phoenix wants to know, is the bread pre-sliced? Oh, this is such a great. Okay, so the bread that I get is not pre-sliced, but when
Bingo.
you get it, here's the pro tip: slice it and then put it in the freezer if you want it to last a long time. And then when you're ready to sort of eat that I mean, I order loaves at a time, right? So I'm just like,
Yes.
you can put one, cube in the fridge, and
Yes.
the other, you pre-slice it and you put it in the freezer. And then as you take it out from the fridge, I just put in the toaster, and it's like the best.
Yes. So this is one of the most common questions we get. Like, why is the bread not pre-sliced? Like, did you guys not just want to invest in a slicer or something? Well, no, that's not the case. It is not pre-sliced on purpose, because what a lot of folks don't know is that in fresh bread with no preservatives, the crust is actually the most important protection for the bread.
Oh.
So that is actually one of the keys for how we do what we do, because if you slice that bread up, it's going to start oxidizing. It's going to start doing all of the things that it's going to start losing moisture.
Yeah.
That crust really, that plays a very, very important role in fresh bread. And then, of course, we said to ourselves before we made it, we wanted people to make a bunch of different dishes. And so not having it pre-sliced actually allows for the flexibility for folks who are like, sometimes like, hey, I want more Texas toast style. Okay, great. Like, you can cut it thick. A lot of people will use the bread at Thanksgiving time for stuffing, so you can cube it up real nice. Some people are a little bit more calorie conscious, and they're like, hey, I really want to stretch this out and go for ultra thin slices. No problem. You can do that just fine. So it being unsliced is actually a feature, but it's
Yes.
just so rare these days that you get unsliced bread.
Yeah. No, I love that. For me, it's a huge it's like a huge feature, because Tori likes his bread a little bit thicker than I like mine, and I can
Mm.
do, one
Yep.
loaf the thick slices and the other loaf the thinner slices, and so we just kind of alternate to see. Or sometimes I want one of the thicker slices. I want to put I want some peanut butter toast or something if I'm like having a busy day, like I had that this morning for breakfast, and
Mm.
it's just so much easier for me to be able to, like decide how much I want. And for me, it just makes it feel more artisan, it just feels more,
Yes.
I don't know, like there's more of a connection to it, as opposed to me just getting pre-sliced bread from the grocery store. Sarah from Boston wants to know what it's like to work with your wife.
I absolutely love it. It's definitely, you will get totally different schools of thought on this and advice everywhere in between. For us, it's just really important to be a team in life. That's just how our relationship vibe has always been. Now, she wasn't always full time at Uprising. In the early days, she was financially supporting us and working her full time job in consumer products. And eventually, when the time was right, we were able to make the jump where she went full time. So she's always been part time in the background. But overall, we love it. I mean, I personally highly recommend it. It's very critical to build in time where you guys are not talking about the business and really figure that out as far as like what's going to work for you guys. For us, we do talk about it a lot. But we really have a rhythm around, like, we just shut it down. We're not talking about Uprising. Now, I'm the guy who has constant ideas that just, pop out. So It's more me that has to keep that under control. But yes, highly recommend. Plus, it's like you spend so much of your day working.
Yeah.
If you can have a working relationship with your spouse where you work together, you just get to spend so much more time together. And building something together for us is really important. It's really a huge part of our relationship.
Yeah, I mean, as an entrepreneur and having a business, how do you keep your own self-care in check? Like, what do you do to recharge yourself? I mean, I know running a business at a even in a fraction of the scale that you guys are probably running, it can be challenging. I can imagine you're being pulled in many different directions. So I'm curious, like, what
Yeah.
do you do for yourself to maintain your own health and wellness?
Yeah. So this is probably a fantastic question for a person running a health food company. So I think of health on multiple dimensions. Okay. So um, first thing for me is that I need to be healthy in my spiritual life, like first and foremost. So first thing I do in the morning is I'll do probably 30 to 60 minutes of prayer and connecting to God. And that is very, very important for me to just even be right. If I do not do that, I'm going to be a different person throughout the day. I'm going to have a different presence, different energy, show up differently in relationships. So for me, I got to be healthy spiritually first and foremost. Secondly, I need to be healthy relationally with my wife. Um, I think that connection with your marital partner is going to have a huge impact on how you show up, what you think about, what's going on subconsciously. So for me, I need to do everything that I need to do in order to make sure that my wife and I are healthy relationally. We're thriving. If we've got an issue between us, we need to stop and deal with that. Because otherwise, I feel that it just derails everything. So if I've got those two things in check, then I'm worried about my physical health, actually, which is probably ironic, given that I'm all about healthy food. But truly, I think that those are the orders of priorities that work for me. And then when it comes to my physical health, I started off my journey biohacking my way from being very out of shape working in banking um, to okay, now I'm looking at my blood tests and figuring out what ingredients, what strategies, what podcasters are saying try this, that, or the other. And I really dialed in over time kind of my set of healthy strategies that tend to give me the best blood work, that tend to make me feel the best, and ultimately are sustainable. So this is also something I'm extremely passionate about. And it's why I wanted to bring health to these staple categories, which is what's actually practical. Like, what are people going to do? Because I can give you the healthiest thing in the world, but if it's too hard or too complex or unsustainable, you're not going to do it. So I figured out over time that information alone was, not going to be the key. It was finding things that I could do that were practical and implementable and gave me the biggest bang for my buck. So I'm very into things like intermittent fasting. I do 1 or 2 meals a day. I tend to change that up depending on the day of the week. And I pretty much eat a cyclical low carb paleo diet. And I always tell folks that I'm 95 for the 5. So I do not live perfectly. And I think that's very, very important in my opinion. I do my thing 95% of the time, so that when it is 5% mode, I'm not worried about it. I'm not stressing about it. And I use that to spend time on relationships. So eat with other people who don't eat like me, or, have different, how can we connect over, a meal or lunch or any of these things that might be off schedule, on schedule, whatever. So those are the things that, like, if I've got those 3 things in order and, I've got my rhythm around those,
You're good.
then I'm feeling pretty healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So Leslie, from Aliso Viejo is asking, do you have other products besides bread? I'll let you
Yeah.
answer that.
Yes, we do. Fantastic question. So we tackled bread first, and I told you why. However, our second category of products was chips. So we launched chips earlier this year. The same health science, the same attention to fiber and ingredients, and our key ingredient, psyllium husk. All of that, we transfer all that knowledge over to the chip making side of things. And that was really because we looked out and said, hey, what else is standing in people's way? The sensation of crunch. And there is a massive amount of literature and food science out there around why crunch is so important, why it is like deeply primal. And we looked out at the major staples that are out there, and we said, there's so many food tricks going on. And that thing is incredibly hard to give up, that sensation. Can we meet people in that moment of crunch with something extremely healthy that builds upon the science of Uprising? And thus was born the Uprising chip. So chips came out this year. We have even more products coming next year. And we're working on all the major staples. So we don't want there to be any reason between you and I want to make a health change, or I want to optimize or improve my health. We don't want there to be a food form based reason in your way. So we're working on all those things.
Oh, good. So thank you for answering that question. Anita from San Bernardino wants to know, can I get bread at any stores or online only?
So right now you can only get the bread online. If you happen to live in the Midwest, there is one grocery store called Meijer who does carry our chips. And for right now, we want to stay like that. We have a lot of people ask us like, hey, can you please put this in Whole Foods? Hey, can you please put this in Erewhon if you live in LA? And we get calls from retailers all the time. And we actually turn a lot of those away right now. And the reason is, I came from a massive consumer products company before I started Uprising. A lot of people don't understand what's going on behind the scenes between brands and retailers. And unfortunately, the way that the business works is oftentimes you have to hit very, very specific cost structures in order to be a partner of a retailer. So in order to hit those cost structures, what often happens is you have to cheapen the product. And so for us, we said, hey, we believe that people will buy into the brand online and that we can serve folks at a significant scale so that we can build up Uprising to the point where we can naturally bring down the cost of our product based on economies of scale and getting better at making it, but not bring down the product by compromising on ingredients. So we know, hey, we can't hit what, like the Walmarts of the world need, or even maybe the Whole Foods of the world. But what we can do is make a fantastic product and ship it directly to you. And then over time, when we can meet what they need for their business to work, then we can consider that.
Yeah. And Anita, just so you know, and for everybody listening or watching, you can get $10 off of the starter bundle if you go to www.uprisingfood.com/loved, LOVED. And the starter bundle is a great way to start. There's, William, do you want to let them know what's in the bundle?
Yeah. So in our bundle, you'll get 2 loaves of bread and 4 single serve packs of chips. So you get 6 total products. And then we designed it like that because we wanted people to be able to try both flavors of chips and try the bread and decide, hey, do I love both of these? Do I love just one of these? No problem. We're cool either way. And then most people go from there to the subscription. And then, over time, they'll be like, oh, okay, now I really want those chips again. Okay, I'm adding a chip subscription. I'm already on bread. So that's pretty much how it works.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. I mean, it works for me, and I know a lot of people that really love it as well. So there's that. And thank you so much for explaining the supply chain question, because I think a lot of the times us as consumers think, it's why can't you just send it? Like, why can't it just be available down the street from me? And I think this has more to do with our addiction to creating everything so like um I don't know, like instant gratification and so
Oh,
quickly. We want everything to be just done fast. We're so primed by fast food. And I almost feel like we need to relearn how to not only support small business, but also to be able to support the ecosystem as a whole. It's like to be healthy, to support companies that are really mindful about how they're building themselves, and you're supporting companies that are putting great ingredients and creating an incredible product. Do you know what I
yes.
mean? It's like the what
Well,
you were saying earlier about how, in pre-war, post-war eras, we didn't have the infrastructure to feed troops overseas. We didn't have the technology to send food without it rotting on the way. All of those things where it's almost like, how do we go back to doing more of these like mindful and more artisan type of
yes.
staples in our lives so that we can continue to support not only our own health, but the health of our country.
Yes. And there's probably very few people that are as passionate about supply chain as me. Um, and the reason I'm so passionate about it is because I understand what it translates to for people. We are seeing right now in the US massive supply chain issues. We're seeing, products out of stock. We're seeing there's a lot of talk in the media about why is our supply chain, why is it so hard to get products? Why are the grocery staples moving up in price? And what a lot of people have not had visibility to is the type of supply chains that sit behind everything that we do. And what we really need to rethink is the cost of cheap and now and global scale. And we've really organized most supply chains in the U.S. to be multinational, so they're sourcing things from all over the world. And the reason they're doing that is we want the absolute cheapest price on everything. So yeah, we've gotten cheap prices on a lot of goods in the US, but the cost of that is quality, and they're so fragile. If anything goes wrong, you've got a massive issue, and it becomes kind of like a snowball effect in the way these supply chains are oriented. And so, we do not want the supply chain to cause a drop in quality, and we do not want it to cause a drop in access for the consumer. And so it's very important to us to build supply chains, build our company in a way that we solve for the best of the best. We want to always give you the best product at the best price we obviously can, but that is a wickedly different company and cost structure than what you're seeing at the grocery store shelves from the mega food companies. And like their cost structure is about like a fifth of ours,
Yeah.
if that. Like our like the average loaf of bread, the amount of cost in their entire loaf is about equivalent to just the labor component of ours. That does not count ingredients, and we're
Wow.
sourcing ingredients that global supply chains have not figured out how to reduce the cost on, do efficiently. We're getting psyllium from India. A lot of that is farmed by generational farmers,
Yeah.
that have been working on psyllium for ages and ages and ages. So these aren't like highly industrialized, big agriculture things that we're using in our products. We're using proven things that have real health benefits, but big food has focused on totally different things. So
Yeah.
it's a journey to get our stuff where it'll be more approachable to more people with less means, but we're working extremely hard to get there.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that. I want to be respectful of your time, and I do have one final question. And before I let you go, where can people go for more information?
Yeah, super simple. Go to uprisingfood.com, and you can check out all sorts of stuff there. We have a 3-day toast cleanse that you can check out where, we want to make it easy for folks to, have a real gut health change in 3 days and experience kind of what that could feel like. So you can get more information about that there. You can get more information about the bundles. We would love, love, love for you to follow us on social media so you can link through from there to our Instagram or our YouTube. We appreciate all of the support. We really benefit from people even just talking about us. Something that a lot of people don't know is how like the marketing side works. Facebook ads costs, which is what a lot of small businesses rely on to grow, they are going through the roof. So the more that folks tell people about us, just get them to our website. We don't have to rely on those things, which of course drive our costs. And of course, you got to do that to grow the business. But even if Uprising isn't for you today, there probably is somebody in your family that it is for. And so if you can check us out, send them our way, all of that helps. So uprisingfood.com, and then our website will take it from there. I also, encourage people, reach out to me directly. You can connect with me personally or my wife on LinkedIn. I get lots of DMs from customers, and we use those to improve the company, improve the brand. People have had product issues, and I found it in my LinkedIn. I'm like, okay, I'm going to see if I can get my team to fix this for you. So we really want to be directly connected to people. So connect with us on the website, connect with us on social media, connect with us on LinkedIn. We listen. So, we're super thankful for any and all interaction, whether it's a sale or just a comment or a suggestion.
Thank you so much. So the final, Rosie, Rosie from LA wants to know, this is actually my question. How do you feel radically loved?
Well, like I told you, to me, my spiritual life and my relationship with my wife are like number one, number two to me. And I feel radically loved in those two relationships the most, because to me, radically loved means love despite my imperfections. And so I think in those two relationships, that's where I get to experience, like, here I'm giving it my all. A lot of people might see me on a podcast like this, like, wow, he's fantastic. He's got it all together, whatever. He's got a fantastic company. But in those relationships, people see me at my worst. And I think to be radically loved is to be loved, for who you are, not who you project to be, but who you are. And so to me, that's where I feel the most radical love. And that, that's a huge source of energy, to be radically loved. So that's it, my answer.
Yeah, thank you, William. And it's a great answer. It's a beautiful answer. And we are so grateful for you. We're so grateful for everything that you're doing, and also for being a sponsor of the show. We want to continue to support you and what you're doing. So again, for the people that if you want to get $10 off of your bundle, just go to www.uprisingfood.com/loved. And if you have any more questions, go ahead and stalk William's LinkedIn. We'll put the link of it in the show notes, wherever you're listening to this podcast, or if you're watching the video, which I continue to recommend to all of you guys. It'll be in the description below. All of the links he mentioned, in fact, will be there. William, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you, and I'm so grateful for all the work that you're doing. And we will continue to support you because I think it's important. And we hope to have you on the show again. Come see us.
Well, thank you so much, Rosie. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you, giving me a spot on your platform. And thank you, listeners, for giving us the time of day. Just really grateful for all of you.
Thank you. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I am so excited to continue to do this. Please share this with your friends. Email us, message us on Instagram at Rosie Acosta or on Twitter at Rosie Acosta. Subscribe on iTunes, write a review. We love doing this, so please help us continue to keep this podcast going. Thanks for listening.